Welcome folks, this is the final video in my series of micro Gotham City builds, a year-long project to recreate the main parts of Gotham City in a micro form and following William TR's fantastic transit map as a guide. I recently did a really fun photo shoot of the city and seeing it in the studio with the black background was amazing. It looked really nice, but I came to some interesting conclusions upon its completion, and I've seen some errors and mistakes in scale that I've made, and I'm sure you're the same when you do these things. We individually can be our harshest critics, but I couldn't escape the feeling. So I've got big changes to make, but in this video I'll go in depth into the three islands, Downtown, Midtown and Uptown, and show you some of the highlights, and this will be the very last time this city will appear like this, as I have big plans for 2022 starting soon with demolition and a brand new layout and investment in parks. If you're new to the channel, then all I ask is that you like the video if you found it interesting and rate my mock between 1 and 5, 1 being the worst through to 2, 3, 4 and 5 being the best, as I'd love to get some feedback. So this here is the first section I did, and it is my personal favourite. This is Downtown, which is where the key commercial buildings and finance district of Gotham City is. There's an intricate single stud wide road that runs around and through the middle of the city, which is represented by grey tiles. The skyscrapers are definitely too close together, which is something I notice more and more, but it kinda adds to the claustrophobic, encroaching nature of the city. This is one of the best buildings I did in terms of accuracy, as this is Old Wayne Tower, which I modelled carefully on how it appears in various Batman comics. It does draw the eye with its blue and grey domed top, and I think it really adds a quirky shape to the skyline. There are a lot of black buildings in this section, and they are quite imposing, and sadly on camera they don't appear so good just because of the colour, but to the eye they look way better, just an annoying thing when filming I've found. That white building is the TV6 tower. I like the white just breaking up the dull grey and blacks. There's a decent bit of water and shoreline here, and I like the colour of the water. Because there's black plates underneath this, it makes it darker, and I kind of like that look. It really fits with Gotham. I have a wee Batmobile represented here, about to cross this bridge. Here you can see the extent of the road network with grey covered tiles as highways. Around here is a train coming out of a tunnel, and it's heading into the bottom of this gothic black building, which is the entrance to the train station under Old Wayne Tower, which is in canon to the city as it appears in the comics. Around the corner, this large black building is Gotham Clock Tower, which is a very prominent building, and I like those old-fashioned style clock pieces. Next to it is City Hall, that white classical building, definitely one of my favourite builds. The black building on the left, the very tall one, is the R.H. Kane Tower, again a reference from comic book lore, and next to that, the gold large building is One Gotham Centre, and that's definitely one of my favourite pieces I've made so far. This one really took a lot of effort to build, and a lot of parts, plenty of gold parts in particular of course. Down below the very ornate black building is Gotham Cathedral, which sits on archway pieces, and I really like the look of this. This is one of the earliest buildings I made, and it's a key location in Gotham City of course. Right at the front right hand side, the olive green building is Blackgate Prison. It is meant to be on a separate island, but it is constrained by this base plate. I will be making amends to this in my future build of course, making a much more substantial building and a larger island. Just here is Slaughter Swamp, which is a rather grim place in Gotham lore, and it's where Solomon Grundy comes back from the dead. There's some sewage pipes here going into the river next to that statue, which is actually a little Princess Leia. Right in the thick of it, in the middle here, is a very large police HQ, which has a massive bat signal on top of it, and sadly it's kinda hidden between all those buildings, which is a shame because it's a really cool building, so that's a big thing to change in a future build. So on to Midtown, which still has a fair number of very large commercial buildings, but there's also a fair number of public buildings and residential areas. This side here is mainly luxury condos, and it's meant to be a rather swanky, wealthy part of the city. Robinson Park is round here with its reservoir, and there's a cluster of commercial towers around here on the left. The very large tan building is the modern Wayne Tower, and it is heavily influenced by the Empire State Building. I like it, but it is just too big, so it'll have to be reworked massively in the new city. Behind all that here is Gotham Grand Central train station, which has an elevated platform. This is actually the skylight from the brick bank repurposed as the rooftop for the station. Around here is Chinatown, which is one of my favourite districts, and I really enjoyed doing these little builds, and just behind it is like a wee Times Square type area with billboards on the sides of skyscrapers and lots of printed tiles to represent that. There's several bridges here and actually a waterway behind the reservoir that runs under the station. This is another sewer with this plant piece, and it's where Killer Croc lives. The whole area behind here is Gotham University. The campus is spread out over several buildings, with the grander white building being the main one. Nestled in here is the Central Hospital. I love this build, and I added a wee helicopter on top, and it's kind of a shame it's hidden away in there. Here you can see Chinatown a wee bit better, and you can see the Nexo Knights graphics that I used in the back there, and the round hat piece. But it's a cool, modern, low-density style building. I really like it. The elevated railway is probably too high, but I did like incorporating it and adding the trains. So now, Uptown. It has some industry, the Narrows, Riddler Hideout, the Fairground, the stadium, and lots of residential areas. A key feature is the railway bridge, which connects through to the middle of this huge building. The Riddler's base is here, next to the Narrows and some lower density housing. There's a few other bridges, and over here is Arkham Island, which has the prison of course, and some smaller buildings. Behind it is the Narrows. I loved making this. It took ages, and adding all the industrial details was fun. I also added Robin's bike here on the bridge. The stadium is nice, but it's actually not very accurate to how the stadium really looks in the comics, so it'll need to be totally reworked. I like this wee Octane petrol station, which was a micro build from last year's advent calendar. Then up to this pier with the fairground, which is kinda Jokerland, but it's not run down yet in my timeline of Gotham. My favourite thing here is probably the Ferris wheel. It's a really cute little build. There's a train tunnel back here too. A lot of fancier, nicer looking commercial and residential buildings in here. And attached to this big skyscraper is the Batwing, which I personally think is one of the coolest things I was able to incorporate with this trans clear bar. It's zooming over the Narrows here. Let's take a closer look. Yeah, I do like this area, but it's probably a bit too colourful for Gotham. Altogether, it looks great. I'm so happy with how it turned out. It's hard to film though, so I hope it comes across nicely in the video. I've learned so much doing this, and I really got good at building the skyscrapers. Even though it is at a micro scale, it uses up a lot of parts and tiles especially, and I had to find more inventive ways of building as time went on to make more individual buildings unique. I started building this during the second lockdown, and I found it very calming and therapeutic. It didn't get a lot of viewers from the get-go, but it was a very personal little project, and I love micro scale and of course Gotham City. But over time the response has been pretty good, and the videos have been getting more views. I don't mind not getting the best reaction, as it's been a really fun little project. It's kind of like building SimCity for real. It's the only way to describe it. But my journey with this city is at an end, and I've realised so many errors along the way. Even though I am happy with how this turned out, I think it's definitely time for a larger, bigger, expansive mock. So I need more space, I need a proper grid system for the roads and buildings. I'm going to build a highway, 2 circular railways, the dockyards, several key bridges, and of course Wayne Manor and the Batcave. I will still use William TR's map again in the new build, and I will try to stick to it more, especially in terms of the shape and layout. I have 6 new large grey base plates ready to go, and I'll be adding a course of water underneath and fully tiling the sea before I add any land masses. It's going to be a big project, and I'll be doing very regular update videos on this. I hope you like it. Please do rate the mock, like the video, let me know what you think, and I hope you can see how unique it is and join me on the new chapter of the city in future too. So I'll catch you next time, same bat channel, same bat time. Bye.